What's up, Michigan fans? Welcome back to the Maize and Bluebeard podcast, where we talk all things Michigan football, basketball, and all other sports, because Michigan is killing it in athletics right now. Michigan hockey, women's basketball, baseball, softball, and so many others are doing fantastic. So if you love Michigan sports, you've come to the right place. I'm Chris. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. We got a lot to get to today. We're going to continue to share some more information that I found out about new general manager Dave Peloquin, reference some quotes from an interview that the Wolverine did with a former colleague of Dave Peloquin and what he had to say. We'll also take a look at what we've learned that Dave Peloquin has done behind the scenes already so far, even though he hasn't officially even started for Michigan. And we'll also debunk a little stuff that's going around from rival fan bases about Dave Peloquin that I don't want any of you Michigan fans to fall for. We'll hear from superstar center Jake Guarnera on what it's like now with Coach Whittingham at the helm. We'll also touch on a little recruiting and hang around to the end of the video, and I'll reveal the question of the day results from yesterday when I asked, who is your most important player from Michigan's 2023 National Championship season? All that and more on this episode of the Maize and Bluebeard podcast. Let's go blue and let's get to it. If you missed yesterday's video or you've been living under a rock, Michigan announced it will be hiring longtime Notre Dame staff member Dave Peloquin to be their new general manager. This is a fantastic slam dunk home run hire. Don't let anybody else tell you otherwise. Dave Peloquin was born, grew up in Illinois, Midwest dude. He went to Notre Dame. He's an alum from there. He graduated with a degree in business, communications, and then he hit the ground running and got right to work working for the Notre Dame football program behind the scenes. And in the next 20 years, he did all sorts of things. He had his hands in a million different pots for multiple different coaches who all thought of him as important. He gained their trust. He did a lot with player personnel, with recruiting, with numbers, NIL, all this stuff behind the scenes. He set up on-campus recruiting visits. He set up fundraisers. He did the dirty work for that. He also communicated with players' families, and built relationships. He's done a lot with all of that as well. And then he moved on to Athletes First, because in Athletes First, he was the GM, the head of the college division of NIL, so he learned all about NIL even more there and understood that process. And while at Notre Dame, while he was at the helm, they never had, in 20 years of him being there, they never finished outside the top 12 except for 2 times when they finished 17 and 8. And he did so many different things and had his fingerprints all over those recruiting classes. And we'll talk in a little bit about what some rival fan bases are saying, trying to point to some articles and different things. We're going to debunk that, and I'm going to tell you why in just a minute. But first, Dave Peloquin is a fantastic hire. You should be excited. I know I am, so I'm going to share a couple things with you today that got me even more pumped. First is an interview that Clayton Sayfie from the Wolverine. You should check out the Wolverine. I love the Wolverine. They're one of my favorite sites to go through. Them and On3 together make a match made in heaven. I love checking out their articles and getting behind the scenes things. So down below, you can check out the Wolverine. It's definitely awesome. They did an interview with Eric Hansen, who's a reporter for the Blue and Gold, and he works with Notre Dame. Obviously, he's been doing that for a long time and knows Dave Peloquin from back when he was a student there. And he just talked about in the article, I'll give you a brush stroke, but there is some quotes at the end that I just want to tell you about that got me pumped. But he just talks about how Dave is fantastic, how he did so much behind the scenes for Notre Dame. He was always growing, gaining different coaches' trust, getting more put on his plate. He learned from when things didn't go well to make sure that never happened again. He also learned from when things did go well to not get a big head and still improve it. He said that he was able to focus on one thing, but also do a million other things and do them all well, that he was just constantly growing his skill set, taking things on. He talked about how he just seems to never age and always seems unstressed, unfazed, positive. Just everybody loved him. He was a relationship builder, that families loved him. They were always talking about how he was great to them and great to their child, the student athletes. So just very impressed. He said that he thinks he would have been a home run hire if he ever got the GM job at Notre Dame, even though he thinks Mike Martin, current GM, is a home run hire also. And he thinks that Michigan got a fantastic hire in Dave Peloquin and that he's going to do a great job for all those reasons. But at the end, something he said I thought was really cool, and I'm going to share it with you. I'm going to read what he said. He said, where I think Dave is going to be very valuable is that he can do everything and do it at a high level. Evaluation, recruiting, and with his experience with athletes first, he has a really good feel for NIL and the portal and how the whole dynamic works. Even finding loopholes in the portal, which is what you have to do to compete now. You look at Notre Dame's class. They were guys like Ohio State wide receiver transfers Quincy Porter and Mylan Graham that weren't in the portal that first day. Notre Dame was able to communicate with them through third parties. And Dave was booking flights for kids on Christmas Eve for the first day of the portal. He knows how everything works. He knows the back doors. He knows the trap doors, but he knows how to do it the right way too. There are gaping loopholes in these rules, then you have to take advantage of them. So I think that is very interesting to hear that. And that it's just amazing. You want to talk about what boxes this guy checks. You want a GM who can connect with players and families and is a great communicator and relationship builder. Check. You want a guy that is going to do all the dirty work, has experience, and is willing to get down, do the fundraising, do the on-campus visit, setting it all up, making the calls, getting them there, all those kind of dirty behind-the-scenes, gritty work. Check. He's going to do that. You want a guy that is very smart also, that understands the money side of it, that understands NIL, contracts, how all that works. Check. You want a guy that gets how the transfer portal works and understands what you have to do to be front and center to be able to get these big time recruits. Check. I mean, he does it all. He does it all well. He has been in this area his whole life, his personal life and his career. He's built so many relationships, and he's going to bring all of that to Michigan, and it is going to be fantastic. I'm so excited. He's probably going to be announced later, officially announced, and he'll be able to talk on the job and all that stuff. I would guess pretty soon, but he's already meeting with Champion Circle, who handles the NIL stuff, meeting with them, talking about his vision. His vision is lockstep with the athletic department and with Kyle Whittingham. They're all in it together, and it's just exciting. I can't wait to see who ends up else on the staff and to see him be able to just hit the ground running. Because remember, even though the spring transfer portal window is no more a thing, there is still talent out there that has not signed with a new team. There's still players that don't have a home. And maybe now Peloquin is someone who has connections, is good at eye and talent. Who knows? I wouldn't be surprised if he adds some more people, maybe. You never know. Just saying. That would be pretty interesting. But it's just exciting, everything going on with Michigan football right now. And with all this positive news out there, there's people that aren't going to like it. And those are our rival fan bases. So there's some things being pushed around in an article talking about Michigan fans. Just real quick before we get back to the video and find out what rival fan bases are trying to do and say, I made a promise to some Michigan fans in a live stream, and I said if I hit 1,000 subs, I am going to dye my beard maize and blue, and it's going to happen. We're in the 670s now, so if you have not subscribed yet and you're having a good time hanging out with me talking Michigan sports, please subscribe. Let's get to 1,000 so that you can see this beard in maize and blue. Back to the video. If Dave Peloquin's so great, why was he passed over a couple times for GM role? I don't think he's a home run hire, if that. And some Notre Dame fans saying, who is this? I don't even know who it is. Okay, so first of all, a casual fan isn't going to know who someone is in their football program, no matter how long they've been there, unless they are the head coach or a big time position coach. Or, maybe the GM, if it's someone like Courtney Morgan or something like that. The casual fan's not going to know who anybody is. So that is silly when they say, I don't know who that is. I didn't know he was here. So that's silly to me. But let's talk about a couple things that I think about when I say, why was he passed over? Well, Marcus Freeman they're talking about passed him over twice for a GM spot. The first time he hired someone who he had known for a long time and had a long connection with. So, of course, he's going to hire the guy he knows well and thinks will do a good job. And is in lockstep with, okay, so just the bare basics like that, you get why he did that. The other one, Mike Martin comes in, hot shot name. People really want him to get hired. They're not going to go against that and hire somebody that's been there forever that nobody's really talking about as much and doesn't excite the fan base. Okay, so at its level, it makes sense that they would go in those two directions. The other thing is here, think about what Peloquin was doing. He is busting his butt, doing a million different things and doing them all well. If he gets put into a GM role, he has to find different people to do all those things. So I know I've been passed over for promotions just like everybody has. And sometimes you feel like you're working your butt off and the people just don't see your value or don't see what you're doing. And you get passed over for the new exciting person or the person that knows somebody. So, this is no different than regular life for other people. Maybe he just got passed over because he's busting his butt and they don't want to have to replace everything that he's already doing. And they're going to let him just keep doing all that dirty work because he's doing it well. I don't know. I'm just saying I wouldn't read too much into any of that. And at the end of the day, let's say that is true. Okay. Let's say that he was passed over because they thought that he wasn't good enough for the job, despite all the great things he was doing. Well, guess what? That's okay with me because now he's at Michigan, who is excited to have him and wants him to have that GM role that he maybe has always coveted. And he's going to have his chip on his shoulder and he's going to prove to the world what he can do. And he's going to do it right here at the University of Michigan, baby. So miss me with the, oh, it's not a home run hire because of this, yada, yada, yada. Moving on. It's a home run hire. Slam dunk. The funk. Dave Peloquin. He's going to do big things at Michigan. Go Blue. Michigan's running back coach, Tony Alford, recently sat down with John Jansen on the In the Trenches podcast to talk all about the running back room. And of course, Savion Hiter was one topic that came up. And here's what Tony Alford had to say about the electric incoming freshman. Alford said, I think you're getting an exceptionally explosive, like off the charts explosive athlete. Powerful kid when he moves. You watch him during doing drill work or conditioning, and he'll make a cut and change direction, and it's impressive. Now, with that being said, I don't want to get too far off the ledge here because I don't want to put expectations on this young guy. All of a sudden, they're not met immediately. He's thinking a certain way about himself. There's a fine line, but there's a fine line of letting him go and pushing him. He doesn't have to be ready to play today. We don't play for 5 months or whatever, so he doesn't need to be game ready, but we're just going to keep moving him forward in every fashion. But I think he's got a chance to be a special player. Time will tell, but up to this point, just watching him move and interact and do things the way he learns, he's got a high football IQ. He retains information very, very well. And here's what I love about him most. He's not a typical wide-eyed freshman. He comes in, he's like an alpha. He wants to compete at a high level. If something's not right, he'll go back and do it again without you having to say, go do it. Like, no, that wasn't right. I'm going to do it. Go do it again, he'll say. So he's got some of that about him, which I really like because, as I said, he's an alpha male now. When asked about if Hiter ever considered leaving with all the uncertainty with the coaching change, Alford said he never blinked. Mom, Dad, his brother, his sister, obviously Savion Hiter himself, they never blinked. And believe me, I was waiting for him to blink. I was waiting for him to blink both eyes twice. But it was always highly supportive of the staff. It was supportive of me. Like, Coach, are you going to be here? Yes, I'm going to be there. Okay, well, if you're there, we're there. So that was pretty awesome. Speaking of, I'm excited to see what Savion Hiter is going to do. But speaking of alpha male, I got to show you this picture. So every once in a while, Michigan has done different position group and their position coaches team dinners, and they post pictures on social media. The linebacker group did a picture from their team dinner, and this gets me even more excited for Nathaniel Owusu-Boateng. Take a look at this picture right here. Yes, that is him sitting there like a baller, like an alpha male. He looks like an assassin or something. He's just sitting there. He's ready to go. He's ready to knock some people out. I mean, that's an alpha dog right there. I'm excited about him. And it's cool to see all the linebackers in one place, having a great time, building camaraderie. And I can't wait to see what that position group does. And I've been very impressed with Coach Whittingham as well. Something cool that I read as well came from our superstar center, Guarnera, who we're all excited about after the great year he had last year. He had this to say about Kyle Whittingham and the culture that he is building at Michigan. Jake Guarnera was on an episode of the Hail to Her podcast with Haley Polk, and this is what Guarnera said. He said, I like him. He's really establishing that culture of being accountable to each other. He's like, if you don't do what's best for the program, then how are you going to be great? I think he's really just preaching to us. He's just really preaching that to us and making sure that the leaders on the team know that that's something that's big to him, the accountability piece, which it should be on every winning team. The culture is important to Guarnera, who said after Moore's firing, Michigan's team lacked discipline. Like the little things, just on and off the field. And now Michigan is starting very strenuous workouts with new strength and conditioning staff led by Doug Eliasea. They're actually really intense, Guarnera said. Now we have a team run. We do more acceleration work, more technique stuff. Then we'll lift, which will contain more of Olympic lifts like barbell weights and cleans and squatting. We're really focused on our technique and detail and just getting after it in the weight room, which is something I really like. We team run at 6:30, then we have a lift in the afternoon at 4 o'clock. And then talking about some of his teammates, he said, I've been impressed with what Jordan Marshall's been doing, just with a lot of the younger guys. Andrew Sprague is doing really well too. He's stepping up. And then on the defensive side of the ball, Cam Brandt has been someone that's been stepping up and leading as well. I feel like last year I was still kind of that younger guy, still learning behind Greg Crippen and all that. And now I feel like I need to be that mentor for the younger O-linemen and the younger guys on the team to help them transition to college and become a college football player. When asked what Michigan fans should expect, Guarnera said, an exciting team. I think we're going to go out there and shock a lot of people. With a new coach coming in, all of us are buying in, and it is good for Michigan football. If that doesn't give you chills, I don't know what does. Whittingham is instilling culture already. He's focused on discipline, accountability, technique, doing things for each other and for the right reason. And these players are buying in, and never discount the impact of an entire team buying in to what a coaching staff is, into a coaching staff and what they are selling. Because if they are all bought in, playing for each other and for their coach, oh man, this team could be really good next year, and I'm getting excited for the future. Let's talk a little recruiting news. In yesterday's video, I talked about some QBs that Michigan had offered, and I want to share some of the things that they said when they were asked about those offers. So Camden Lipati, who's kind of my favorite, but I really like the other QB I'm going to talk about as well. He said, an offer from University of Michigan is huge. Growing up watching the tradition, the history, and the stage they play on, it's hard not to get excited about that opportunity. What really stands out about the Maize and Blue is the tradition and the standard. From the atmosphere at the Big House to the legacy of the program, it's just different. The fan base is passionate, the facilities are top tier, and the culture is built around competing for championships every year. Wearing those colors means being part of something bigger than yourself. That's what makes it special. I like the way this kid talks. And then also another QB I love that they offered is Dane Weber, and he said a lot of the same things. He's known Whittingham and company for a long time because of when they're at Utah. And he said, what excites me is how prestigious this program is, as well as my relationship with the staff. They were my first offer at Utah, so having them believe in me from the start is huge, as well as the offense that Coach Jason Beck runs fits me extremely well. I can't wait to get up there soon for a visit. So it's awesome to hear these QBs so pumped about Michigan. And they both sound like someone who is very seriously entertaining coming to Michigan. Love it. Stay tuned for updates on them. Another exciting thing is defensive lineman Marcus Fakich, the number 2 defensive tackle in the whole recruiting class, who is just fantastic. Michigan's going after him hard. Larry Black and Lewis Powell are working together and really giving him the love, and he's feeling it because of everything they're all the communication and all the love they're showering him with. Michigan is quickly becoming a favorite in recruiting experts' opinion. So that's exciting to keep an eye on as well. And then one more thing, here's something else cool that another defensive lineman out of Chicago, a 4-star, Braden Parks, told Rivals he's looking forward to setting up his spring visit with Michigan. And here's what he had to say about Whittingham. He said, Coach Whittingham spoke with me about the new direction and culture taking place at Michigan. I can see why Michigan hired Coach Whitt. He had a true presence in the room. I know Michigan is in transition of hiring a new defensive line coach. I had a great relationship with Coach Esposito, and he's gone to the NFL. I look forward to talking to the new defensive line coach, Larry Black, and to start building a relationship. Michigan's a great university, and I've been to campus for a game, and I also camped there last spring. All were great visits. And one more one to get really excited about, too, is 4-star defensive back Darius Johnson. He is going to be visiting Michigan, and he is excited about Michigan as well. Let me tell you about this defensive back for the 2027 class. He has a nice combination of length and athleticism. He's 6'2", and he had a 10.94 100-meter run last spring, which is really fast. Scouts say he's twitchy, reactionary athlete who projects as a shut-down corner and can play physically in the run support game. He's visiting Michigan June 19th, and he says, I love the coaching staff, and I have a great relationship with defensive back coach Gennaro Guilford. Gennaro was the first coach to offer me my freshman year when he was at BYU. He was one of the first coaches to see my potential, and that means a lot to me. Michigan's a great program. They're known for winning, and that is huge. They bring in top talent, and every year you're going to be surrounded by players who are going on to the next level. So he's another one to keep an eye on, and just more praise for this coaching staff, what they're building, and just more signs that they are great recruiters and relationship builders with these players. And now with Dave Peloquin in the fold, I'm pumped. Now it's time to talk about the results of yesterday's question of the day. I ask a question of the day every day to you Michigan fans. So if you haven't voted on today's question of the day, after this video, head on over to my community tab and vote on the question of the day. Yesterday, I asked, who is your most important player from Michigan's 2023 National Championship season? You could have picked from J.J. McCarthy, the QB, Blake Corum, RB number 1, and the defensive captain, leader of the defense, Mikey Sanderstill, or other, because there's a lot of great players. Brandon Graham, Kenneth Grant on the defense. You could have picked Junior Colson, Will Johnson. Then on the whole offensive line was just full of leaders and just beasts. You've got Donovan Edwards had some huge runs. Maybe a wide receiver like Roman Wilson. Maybe a tight end like Colson Loveland. There were so many to choose from. Who's your most important player? Results are in, and here they are. As you can see here, it was close, but in the end, much like he did in games, in big games, Blake Corum wore down the competition and pulled away for the victory at the end. JJ was in second, followed by Mikey Sanderstill, and then other. And yeah, a lot of people, like I said, offensive line, Roman Wilson, Graham, Kenneth Grant, Junior Colson. I mean, Will Johnson, this team was stacked on both sides of the ball, top to bottom. What a team and what a ride that was to watch. I would probably agree. I love JJ. I love defensive football. It does win championships, and I love that defensive line. I loved Mikey Sanderstill. But, man, just watching Blake Corum run, I just loved him. Loved watching him just bam, 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 body shot, and wear teams down. And he's fun to watch. So I just loved the leader he was and what he did in the community. He was a great player. And I think he's going to be great in the NFL as well. So my pick would be Blake Corum, but he can't go wrong with any of these players. What a stacked team that was. That's going to do it for this episode of the Maize and Bluebeard podcast. Thank you so much again for hanging out with me. It means the world to me. Make sure you like, subscribe, share, all those things. It means a lot to me. It helps the channel grow and helps this community we're building grow. But that's going to do it. Have a fantastic day. I'll see you in the next video. And until I do, as always, go blue.